Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Stripped Raw, and we're doing things different here. We're doing things new. I'm here with Cam, and this is the way it started. Just Cam and I in that corner office, a couple of USB microphones wired through, I think it was through my MacBook.
Yeah, that old thing.
Yep, that old thing. And because there for a minute, it's like I was putting the message out there through Writing Raw. And then I was like, man, I don't have a lot of guys that are like commenting here. You know, here I am, a dude going through these things, and there's not a lot of dudes resonating with this. And it's like, well, not a lot of guys read poetry, bro. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of guys look at these pictures.
Just you.
Yeah, just me. I was the only dude. I think you're a subscriber too, so don't even. Yeah. But it's like, let's start a podcast because guys, you know, you have different types of learners out there. You have people that are audio, visual, tactile, these types of things. So let's try a podcast. Let's get in the ears of people. And we did the podcast thing for a while. We got a little bit more traction. And then after, how long ago was that? Like
Definitely 2 years. It was in, I think we started in late 2022.
Yeah. So we started in that corner office through an old MacBook, and they were like, all right, guys still aren't picking up listening to the podcast. And I mean, we're on Spotify. We're on every major podcast platform, right? It's like we still need to reach out to the men more. So it's like, what other platform is there out there? And I mean, you got YouTube, how to. I mean, I don't know how we're going to describe these things, how to be a better man, better masculinity, surrendering, suffering, going through divorce. We're going to find a way. But I just want to tell you, Cam, man, I appreciate you. You've always been there from day one.
Hey,
like I said, man, I think you were 25 at the time when we started this.
No, I was 24.
Ooh, yeah. Young buck.
Yeah.
24.
Yeah. And yeah, no, I mean, this has been, I mean, you and everybody listening knows my story and how much I've, changed. And funny enough, I just listened back to that episode where it was like my story and my episode. And even from where I've come, even from where I've come from, that was the stuff, especially you bringing me under your wing, and then what the other guys have done for me is, I can't repay that.
Well, you can pay it forward. A lot of other guys out there, and for everybody that's been listening, we do appreciate it. Taking it to the YouTube scene, so we can be seen, if you will. That's why I'm rocking this cool collar. It's snowing outside. Got the thermals on. Cam's got the hoodie. Cam's always got the hoodie. That's what 20s do now. Yeah, rock hoodies. I'm surprised you don't have it pulled over your head.
No, I wouldn't want to hide this hair.
No, not that hair. One day you'll start losing it all like me. It'll all be gone. But no, I wanted to dive into it. Like a recap, kind of like a celebration. It's 2025. Of course, we've got goals on the horizon, and us as in the podcast, it was like Writing Raw, but then it's evolved into something way bigger. It's gotten way bigger, and it's awesome. We evolved from Writing Raw, this guy typing on his typewriter, putting out the captions out there, how he's healing, whatever. But it's evolved into Stripped Raw, and that's one of the reasons for YouTube. It's to get to the dudes out there, the brothers, the guys, the brothers, the dads, the friends, the husbands, if you will, who they feel lost, or if your significant other picks up on something, or your sister picks up on something and thinks you could be lost. That's what allowed this for, and for the people out there who say men aren't lost today, or that huge fight that's still going on between masculinity and feminism. And it's like, enough. The world's heading in a bad way. I did a video on it a couple nights ago, but did you know that the average American is on 4 different prescriptions right now? 4. The average American is on 4 prescriptions. Blood pressure's going up, diabetes, heart attacks. Heart disease is the number 1 killer in the United States. So it's like our diets are down. Nobody's exercising. They're not taking care of themselves. Suicides are up. All of these bad things that I don't want my son to grow up in, it's heading in this bad trajectory. So to me, it's like, it's pretty evident that masculinity, it's not dead. Has it failed? From my own perspective, it is failing. Guys aren't leading the way that they need a
Agree.
lead. So and a lot of it is because society, what we think, what we've been shoved down our throats, we don't understand it as much. And to me, it all begins with like your community. And that's what we have with Stripped Raw. So for anybody out there that is listening, even if you are a woman, it doesn't matter. Like, a clan is a clan. Obviously, a lot of our message is for that guy. Like, hopefully what we do out of this is we can shape, sharpen, beat that iron into a really sharp edge for you to have the greatest love of your life with the time that you have left here. Or like my takeaway for this entire endeavor that we're doing right now is so my son has got a better world to walk in. That's my goal. That's my goal as a dad. That's my goal as a husband, future dad. I've got twins on the way right now, both boys. And I want them to lead a better life. I want them to be in a better environment. And that was one of the first things that I learned going through all of this. Your environment. If you surround yourself with lambs, you're going to become a lamb. And that's what I noticed for myself going through a lot of this. I thought that I needed 100 friends. When I first started writing on the Instagram account through Writing Raw, I was getting thousands of followers. And to me, that was like, I'm doing something good here. Or it made me feel good. It made my ego feel good because it's like you have all these followers. But looking back on everything now, I don't need 100,000 followers. I don't need 200 friends. I don't need 100 family members. What I need are 5 nasty sons of that are going to be there at my side, the ride and die crew. That's all you need. You need 5 dudes. You need 4 dudes. You need 3 dudes. Mm-hmm. You need 2 dudes. That's all you need in your life.
Tight circle.
Yeah. So as soon as I started cutting people out, I started cutting these lambs out of my life, and I only allowed the lions in. Like I really started like looking at guys, and the way that I went about it, and I'm really big on metaphors. That's how I am as a person. But I asked myself, out of all of my friends that are out there, who do I trust if my wife was to fall out of the bathtub and she's completely stark naked? Who do I trust out of my friend group to pick her up, to wrap her up in a towel, and to bring her to the emergency room because she's unconscious? How many of those guys? And as soon as I like thought that to myself, my list went way down, and I cut a lot of people out. And a lot of other guys that I thought that could do that. And I went up to them and like, hey man, I need you for this. Like, I'm in this bad way going through this divorce. The divorce attorneys, they're picking at my fucking soul like a vulture. I said, sorry man, I can't be here for you. And at the time it was upsetting, obviously, because I was also emotionally unstable. And come to think about it, I'm 39 now. Yeah. But even then, like 33, 34. Yeah, I know. Right. But 33 or 34, it's like I was so emotionally immature that when one of these guys, and I didn't know what they were going through, but at the time I was like, you can't be here for me. Oh, there's so much pain here. But in the grand scheme of things, it's like, who knows what they're going through? That's the forgiveness I have for it now. But also now it's like, I have this ride and die tribe that, I mean, best of luck trying to get into it when it comes into my house, if you will. But what I started to understand is the world needs like smaller circles or even bigger, or it's just for guys and for gals to like look around and like who's BS, who's BSing their way through situations, and who are the actual like the men around here. Yep.
It's something that I struggle with, like looking at and how to rationalize it, because I don't want to say raised around, but always grew up with the idea of surround yourself with the people who you want to be like. So always surround yourself with people who are doing better or doing this or that. And I've wrestled with that a lot because I don't know how to say this without sounding like it's going to sound, but I do better than most, if not all my friends professionally. But those are my ride or dies. And it's something that I was like, just because, they're not as far professionally as I am or whatever it may be, doesn't mean that, they won't pick up my fiance out of the shower and not take a peek, Yep. So it's definitely something that I, especially after we've talked about it, wrestled with and had had to create my own, wrap my own head around, you know, how I want to set that up. And it really just comes down to character.
Yeah.
You know, these are 4 like solid dudes outside of my, you know, stripped raw family and all of that.
Yep.
These are 4 solid dudes that have bettered my life in numerous ways. And, you know, I've done the same to them. And it's people I can trust.
Yeah. Well, what we've lost concept is, and we talked about this the other day, was that we're going to fail in life. Like failure, it's going to happen. No matter what, we're going to fail. But in the Western society, we're taught that in a way it's like you can't fail. But we will. Like things are going to happen. Things are not as pretty as you see on Instagram when you scroll for 6 hours relentlessly, right? There's some nastiness out there. The world is an ugly jungle. And I mean, it is what it is. That's why I refer like to that metaphor. Like you can be a lamb in that jungle if you need to, but you're going to get gobbled up. You know, you're going to hold your own. Are you going to have that lion power to you? Or some people, you know, the dire wolf, whatever your spirit animal is. Can you be the nastiest version of that spirit animal that's out there? But in order to do that, it's like I firm believer that everything in life, it takes a village, even if it's just a village of dudes. Now, you can go out there and do things on your own. It's going to take a lot longer time for sure. But you find that core group of dudes, and that's what Stripped Raw is all about. It's letting you know, like, all right, weed through all of this, all these people, all these faces, all these names, all the statuses, and like, who would you trust to pick your wife up out of the shower if she was to fall out? She needs to go to the emergency room. And then from that group, those are the type of guys that you know that eventually when you do fail, that you as an individual, my soul, myself, I can surrender to myself, to whatever failure it is, because I know that these guys behind me, they've got me. If Dave was to like fall back because I pass out, they're going to catch me. If I have to cry on the kitchen floor, they'll sit over me. If I need some type of motivation, these are the type of guys that are going to invest into my future and into my energy, that I know that they're not doing or telling me something to harm me. Because it's like feedback, honest feedback. Mm-hmm. You know, there was times when I was going through the struggles that I was going through, like I wouldn't shower for a month. And then finally Cobra had to say like, yo, you're coming to work. Or like, yo, you came to work and like, you need a shower. Or it's like somebody buying that meal. Like, here, you need to drink this. And it's like just giving you water, right? It's these things. And it's like, and I trusted these guys. And that was one of the biggest things. My ego wasn't allowing anybody in because I didn't want them to see me as a failure. I didn't want the world to see me as a failure. The thing is, it's like I had failed because I am human. I'm not a god. I'm a human being. And sometimes it takes these guys and these guys that I trust, and I trust them. Now going through all this, like I trust you guys to this level of, I trust you with my kid. I would trust you with my house, right? Mm-hmm. And it's trust. I didn't get there until like I had to have that conversation with myself, or I had to see the action coming from these people. And that's ultimately the goal for Stripped Raw. Like we're talking about like the future of where we're at, our goals. And it's like to show guys, to show gals, to show the world, like sometimes you have to let go. And it's going to be dark, and it's like there isn't a light at the end of the tunnel, but it's like there are people out there who have been there. And that's what we've done. All of us, right? Through our own trauma, and we were able to navigate it. And we were able to navigate it because we found people that we trusted to get there. Mm-hmm. I had a therapist before, and her specialty was women that were trafficked in sex rings. This is a horrible thing. And I was talking to her about my divorce, and she's like, how are you doing? It's like, I couldn't sleep for the last week. I was just sweating in my bed, and you know, the cortisol just coursing through my veins. And I said, you know, what's the worst story? Because at the time I thought, you know, I had the worst story in the world, because that's what I was feeling. Because that was my level of pain was there. And she said, typically I specialize in women that have been kidnapped, trafficked, and were in sex rings for a long time. And I remember I was like, what the hell am I even talking about? I remember I was at the playground with my kid, and she said, you know, I do this thing. And I was like, man, I shouldn't even have the ability to even talk to you. And she said, no, well, your trauma is still real and it's still right here. So it's like, you don't have to go through a breakup. You don't have to go through a divorce. You can go through, and that's at the same time she was telling me that was the same time that you told me, you know, this is what you were going through and that's why you joined the military. And it like, if I hadn't had that conversation with her, there would have been judgment there between you and I based on, you know, the almost 20 years military experience. And it's like, here comes Cam. It's like, so you didn't make it in the pro circuit and now you're here, you know, you're driving this $70,000 Mustang. Like, who the hell is this guy to complain, you know?
Yeah.
But no matter what, it's like that trauma, I mean, it's still real. Yeah. You can have
that's
still an
something I've
impact on
bounced
you.
around with a lot, with kind of diminishing my own. And I mean, you know how I kind of justify my life and my struggles and stuff like that. But for the most part, and I still do it, is I think they're lesser than. Like, I think the main reason is because it's like I made it through and I'm fine, so it wasn't that bad. And there's people going through who didn't make it through. Like, those are actual bad things. I don't look at my struggles as bad. And a lot of times I have to remind myself to not put it down or put it out because I think it's irrelevant, and still learn from it and deal with it.
Yeah, well, through all of our chats together, I think you also know that when you, like, even if that's a small trauma, and that's something that I did for the longest time, and I do think that's something in Western society we do, that small little thing, that little infraction in our life, I mean, we still felt it, right? There's an emotion tied to it, and you go and you put it in the closet. And the next thing that happens is your dog dies, and it's like pretty significant, but you like kind of stomach it. You don't let people in. You put it inside the closet. And then you go through your relationship, and the girlfriend, the fiance, Cam's now engaged, so we could say that now. Congratulations, Cam.
Thank you.
But it's like the fiance doesn't get you the right Christmas gift. And I'm not saying that you didn't, abs. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, like, she didn't get me the right Christmas gift. And it's like you had an emotion attached to it and you stack it in the closet. And the next thing you know is you're married and it's 10 years down the road and you've got 3 kids and you didn't put the toothpaste cap on the toothpaste tube. And then go to stack that in the closet and all of it comes out one day. And there's that breaking moment and you're like, what the hell happened? And it's like, you didn't put the toothpaste cap on the toothpaste tube. This is something I told you. And it's like something so small and just like, man, we broke, or we had this fight because I didn't put the toothpaste cap on the toothpaste cube. And it's like, no.
How ridiculous is that? Yeah.
How ridiculous. And then we blow it out of proportion. It's like, no, it wasn't that. It's all this stuff that we've been stacking inside this closet because that's the way we're taught. You know, don't deal with anything. Don't talk about your emotions. You never fail. And that's today's, you know, Western society, masculine model, is you don't talk about your feelings. There are things right now on social media all over the place where it's, you don't ever tell her your problems. You go out there and you tell it to the tree because she can't handle it. It's like, no, she can handle it. And if she can handle it, then you've picked the wrong one. It's the same thing for the guy. If you can't go to the guy and tell him, you know, this is what I'm feeling right now based on this scenario, and he can't handle it, I don't think that you're in the best presence of somebody that you can open up to. And if you're in a relationship in that manner, like, what are you doing there?
Yeah. That's something we talked about before, and you've mentioned, maybe not even on the podcast, just in conversation, certain people who are able to put the briefcase down at the door and, you know, leave work behind them, for an example.
Yep.
And I think there is a line of bringing that home. And, you know, kind of being the complaining, like, and we've come to the conclusion, like, okay, it's okay to complain or be sad, but, you know, as a man, you have to come with a plan. You can't just complain to complain. Where's that line of, I expect you, like, you're the quality of person that should be able to take this and handle it, and I'm doing too much. Where's that line, you know?
The line is that, so in a woman's energy, she has the power of intuition, okay? But also in a male's DNA, like, we've got X and Y chromosomes. We have female chromosomes in us as well, which leads me to believe that we have the power of intuition as well. So when Cam comes home and he wants to, like, talk about his day, like, Dave made me do this, or I had to do this thing at work or whatever. It's like, you're going to pick up on her energy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I can't bring this up right now because I can kind of read something. It's like, no, you're reading too far into it. It's like, I'm going to trust my gut, trust my intuition not to bring this up right now. Now, maybe in a couple hours you can bring it up. But like right through the door, may not be able to because you can read that energy.
Yeah.
But I ultimately do feel that at some point, even if it's 9:30 and you guys are laying in the bed and you can be completely transparent with it. And that's my goal. That's where I'm at in my relationship now. And that's what I've worked so hard for these last 4 years, to finally get to a point where I can be completely transparent, be completely raw with everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the end goal. That's something that, that, Abby and I have built our foundation on. And even recently, like, I mean, we're going through a lot right now with traveling and wedding planning, and she's still in school and I'm about to take off for school. I don't know what my next 5 years looks like. And that's really hard when we're getting married in less than 6 months, So it came down to a no shit, rip the feelings out. The feelings are over there in the other room. Let's have this conversation about what our future looks like. Let's have the hard one. And though it was upsetting in some ways for both of us, and, having to make sacrifices, and things may not work and things may work with certain things, that transparency and that like raw, basically without sugarcoating it, like, is this marriage going to work looking forward with our future? Let's sort this out before we're stuck in it 3 years later and we hate each other, And that really shitty conversation, it helped so much because there were so many different things, I think it's like she didn't know where my priorities lied, and she thought the career was top priority. And at the end of the day, for me, it's the family and the happy home. I'll step the career down in a heartbeat. But that's something she didn't know before that conversation.
Oh, this is a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about this. Not even on the personal side.
Nope.
That's a lot to unpack, bro.
Yeah. But that transparency, facilitating that conversation, it was, the water and the sand that loosened everything up. And then now we know, like, basically where each other are in this situation. And it's a conversation I feel like was not only like good, but it was necessary, because I mean, neither of us like unknowns. I don't think anybody likes unknowns. So if we're able to just shell it out to each other without fear of, oh, if I say this thing, she's going to get upset. Now we can't talk anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I do like what you said a second ago, that you guys took all the emotions and threw them in the other room. That's emotional maturity right there. And a lot of people, they don't have that. I didn't have that for the longest time. Say something that would trigger me and I would like just take off like a firework.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. How are you feeling now?
Good. Yeah, good.
One of the things that I read are nonverbals. And I mean, maybe that's a cool thing about video podcasting, is because I can read your nonverbals right now. So you can tell it's like, that's one of the things, man. Go ahead. I want you to run with it.
So no, I feel good on it. It's just scary. I mean, the future's scary. It's, particularly with, I don't know where my career is going to take me, like I said, in the next 5 years, and what that, what that means with a fiance who's in graduate school still. Yeah. So it's a lot of unknown, and that I mean, I like to be spontaneous, but I don't like unknowns. I'm not a planner, but I like to know what's happening.
Yeah. At least for the next week. That's how you're built. At least for the next week. But yeah, just remember that, like, fear only lives in the future, but that's also especially like who we are. You gotta think about it. It was something I was talking to Jay, the wife, about, and my kid, he was like, because I said, every year I ask him around his birthday, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's crazy how it's evolved from, like, he wants to be a police officer, then he wants to do this thing, like, it's all over the place, right? And I said, what do you want to be this year? Because his birthday's in a couple days. And he said, I want to be a famous YouTuber. That's his thing. Maybe that's one of the reasons, wink, that I'm starting this whole YouTube thing, so he can see dad on YouTube, right? But he said, I want to be a famous YouTuber. it made me think like, I went through my entire life. I'm 39 now. I failed professionally. I failed socially, maritally before. I've failed at every aspect in life. And I've accepted that. And I've learned a lot from it. And I wouldn't take anything back. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, but I wouldn't change one thing from it, right? And it's like, what's the conversation that I have with my kid then? And this is no kidding. And I'm going to kind of relate it to you. Like, you can aspire to be that famous YouTuber if you want to. You can do that. And there's nothing wrong with it. You can fail at that. And in order to support that dream, to become that famous YouTuber, you can have your priority of a job. You can work at Starbucks. Because all of your energy, you're like side hustling, you're doing all these things to become a famous YouTuber. So like, obviously your profession isn't one of your high priorities. So you can work at Starbucks. You can do that. You can be a barista. You can be an artist making coffee. And I would support it. Just know that at one point in your life, I do honestly believe biologically, it's like, I want to raise kids. That's what I want to do. I want to raise kids. And to me, I don't know the caliber of woman that I think that like my son could attract in order to build those types of kids. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it's the same thing for a lot of reasons. I mean, setting yourself up, but there's a line here, like you said, related to me, I did the same thing, and I chased a dream for a long, long time. And then, I didn't have that. I'm not going to say I didn't have that support, because I had support the whole way through, but I didn't have anybody telling me, what you're saying. And it all came crashing down, and I was just stuck and lost. And, yeah. No, I get what you're saying though, because if you ride it out for too long and you're still just a Starbucks guy chasing a YouTube dream, life's going to pass you by,
Yeah. And I mean, it's different for everybody. Like for me, my kids are my family. That's it. Because the way that I see myself is I'm going to be 80 years old on my deathbed, laying back, and my head's going to roll to the side, and I'm going to say, like, was my life completely fulfilled? And there's no judgment to anybody. Like, I know you in your situation, like, you want to be a fighter pilot. That's what you want to be. And like, you can be that. You have the opportunity, and not a lot of people get the opportunity. And believe me, like, after this conversation, you and I are about to like seriously talk offline. But if I'm like talking to the masses, like, I could be different than you. And we're all different. We're all special. But for me, it's like, I chase the professional dream of like having all the stripes, the ribbon rack, all the deployments, doing all of these things. And it's like, what really matters to me is it's my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I know now that I can go work at Penske Oil, changing oil. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that profession. There's nothing wrong with any profession. That's where I'm at right now. I can dig ditches the rest of my life, because my goal is I just want to come home to a fireplace and I want to cook with my wife in the kitchen and play with the kids. That's what I want to do. That's what I finally learned about myself. My ego for the longest time, built in Western society, said that, no, you want to drive in this, and this is like 10 years ago, the matching SUV, the white picket fence. We talk about this stuff, the second story home, the Christmas lights outside the house, all of these things. And it's like, no, that's not what I truly want. What I truly want was to just play with my kids. I want to unravel my inner child with my kids, right? I want to play in the snow. I want to do these things. I don't want to be stuck at work all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, in your position, it could be hard, because it is what it is. I mean, you're 25, 26, 26. Oh, 26. But I mean, you're under 30. You're looking at getting married, and it's like you have these dreams and aspirations and long-term goals. It's like, it's a lot to figure out.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I mean, personally, like I talked about the priorities thing, that's what, for most of my life until I was 21, my entire goal, my entire like top priority all time, I could care less about anything else, was succeeding at the sport I was competing in. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it paid off in a lot of ways. It's, I did very well in that area and all this other stuff, but then when it it came to an end, it was like, what do I devote my life to now? And I just didn't know. And I
Yeah.
was, that's where the lost kind of feeling comes into that, because it's like, what now? And that it kind of transitioned, and I was still lost for a long time. I was like, okay, I'll start putting towards this new career path, and that's what it was. And I mean, what I've done for that, and just put my head down, close my eyes, and endure the shit for a while.
True.
And yeah, I mean, it's that was almost like a temporary thing, and I knew what was coming, and now it's changed again in the same way that yours has, where priorities are, how I worded it to her was as if it's in a cardboard box under a bridge, as long as I'm in a happy home, happy family, healthy kids, where I'm good.
Yeah.
And,
well, I think some people, they get lost in the, because obviously you're going to be like in that cardboard box under a bridge, and that's like failure in life, right? But you also have to understand that you are a man, and that DNA inside of you, it's like, we're not going to live under this bridge in a cardboard box for the rest of our lives. I like to use the thing of, we're going to find yourself a woman who's willing to, this is no shit, man. And this was one of the hardest things. And I mean, I've got so many different avenues that I can go with this, but find that woman who's willing to live in that tent with you on the side of a mountain when all the failures have happened. Like, that's a woman, not a girl. And I think a lot of us get caught up in the glamorized side, but find that woman who's ready to ride through hell with you. But in the grand scheme of things, you're going to get yourself out of that cardboard box because you have self-love for yourself. You have respect for yourself. I'm a firm believer that you can never love someone unless you love yourself deeper. The deeper that you take your own self-love is the deeper that you can take it with her. Mm-hmm. And a lot of guys out there, they could say, what do you mean self-love? Like, you shouldn't have self-love. It's unconditional love for this woman. I don't mean self-love for yourself in the manner of vain or vanity. What I mean is having boundaries for yourself, respect for yourself, and tolerating the energy and ultimately the feedback from the people who invest into your time, into your future. And that's the key there. Finding that person who's pouring into your cup at times when you're down. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. At times you're going to get down. Like right now, you're in the space of like, you're kind of lost and what the hell is going on? And it's like, who's pouring into your cup right now? Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. And I have we've talked about this before, where I have I would say, unique point of view on the subject, where I'm very caring. I do a lot for a lot of people, and to the point where Abby will kind of like, hey, why don't you just settle down? You don't have to do this grocery run for someone who can just do it themselves or whatever. It's like, it's my brother. I'll do it. Who cares? But at the end of the day, I still very much live on I'm number one when it comes to the final say. What's most important at the end of the day. Now, I can sacrifice myself all day long, but if it gets to a point where I'm not okay, I'm number one. Unfortunately, though I've never experienced it, how I look at it is, families leave. There's mothers and children who don't talk because they disagreed on something, and God forbid that ever happens to anyone. It's never happened to me, thank God. But at the end of the day, all you have is yourself, and I live on that. So you have to take care of yourself over anything, in my opinion.
Well, eventually you're going to be into a place, because you guys are talking about like long-term goals, and I'm pretty excited to see one day when you do have kids, like how that right there, like what you just said, like I have to be number one, like, because I'm the one chopping the wood and bringing the chickens in the house. When you bring those chickens in the house after you've slaughtered them, right, to feed the table, and all the kids eat all the chicken and there's none left for you, you know? And it's like, that's when it'll shake you to me. That's when it'll shake you. Like you're no longer number one. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And look, we've talked enough. I get it and I hear it and I understand it fully. And I know it's going to come, but being completely honest with myself and you is I don't feel it, you know?
Yeah.
I still feel like I can say what I want. I can believe what I want. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's, you know, maybe I'll go hungry that night and that's fine. But that's, like I said, I'll sacrifice. But at the end of the day, it's me, you know?
Yeah. Well, you will have that feeling. And I think you're starting to like feel that feeling right now. It's kind of like foreplay with you, right? You like foreplay, right?
You're foreplaying me?
Yeah, foreplaying you. I'm going to stroke that mustache. For me, it's like that feeling. It started happening slightly. And this is where I was talking about like biologically, you know, work at the Starbucks. But eventually you're going to have that feeling of like, I want kids. When that starts happening, and I refer to this song, John Mayer did the song like Something's Missing. It's an awesome song. And I've always preferred that song, like Something's Missing. And to me, when I was in my first marriage, it's like something's missing. And to me, it was like a kid, like biologically. Mm-hmm. And when the kid came along, it took how many years now? He's almost 9. It's like all these years for me to understand or unpack my ego, or take the last couple of years to find him. Like the last couple of years to like no dating, nothing like that, in order to be the best dad that I could be. And that's what I thought I was doing. But really what I was trying to do is, and what I did do was become the best valued man to attract the type of mom that I wanted in his life. So it's like something was missing in my life that entire time. The kid came along, and then finding his mom. So it's like, it's crazy. It's like everything, it's no longer about Dave. Mm-hmm. And I was a giver a lot of my life. Like I was different than you, because I was like, I never wanted to be number one. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's who you are in your mentality. And that's why to me, like when we first met and we talked and you took all the tests that I told you to take, you know, to figure out if you're a generator, a manifester, generator, all of these things. It's like, all right, this is who he is. This dude is like, he's an executioner, right? And it's like, he would make an awesome fighter pilot. Calling it for what it is, man. Yeah, I'm calling it for what it is. And I know you're unpacking a lot right now, but I am very blessed that you have the ability to like, you're just calling shit for what it is. Like, let's just unpack it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little different on the camera with the mics, but you know, it's just an open book.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what happens, because you are very like talented with emotional maturity. It's like, let's take the emotions out of it. So even if Abs was to hear this right now, it's like, no, emotions aside, this is just no kidding what I'm feeling. Like, these are my thoughts. It is what it is, right?
Yep. And I mean, I would say the greatest aspect of our relationship is we're able to do that. And we have been for a long time. It's just something that was from the start and from you guys, where it was like, this is something I need to be able to do. I need to be able to communicate this way, or it's just, you know, that's a thing for me. Yeah. And luckily she learned it. Now she catches me too. And she'll, you know, if I get caught up like everybody does, you know, wrap it around the kids in the sandbox. If I got that ball of sand loaded up and she's like, hey, you know, you're not abiding by your own rules right now, big dog. Like, all right. Yeah, you got me.
Well, I think that metaphor. So explain kids in the sandbox for everybody. It's the first time we're seeing it on camera.
Yeah. It's one of my favorites, because, I think it does wrap around to inner child, but when you get hurt or you're in a discussion or argument and it's two kids in a sandbox having a conversation, as soon as one gets upset to the point where they pick up a handful of sand and launch it at you, you know, you can decide to launch that insult back or that childish reaction, or step out of the sandbox, have a conversation, figure it out. And it, to me, the whole like metaphor of it makes sense and is good, but it's really that moment of, I got a handful of sand. Do I let go of it or drop it next to my side and say what I want to say, not what my inner child is trying to scream out.
Right. Inner child work. It's awesome. A very delicious thing, I would say, for sure. But no matter what, like you understand, time is the only currency in life that does matter. We can make all the money in the world. Like, I went from money, what I thought was money, to $0 to negative $0, going through the struggle, the hell that I went through. I could barely pay this. I had to borrow money from guys to make the mortgage payment. It was rough. For the longest time, like, money was the biggest thing. It was the only currency that mattered. And now sitting here, like, talking to you, time is this is America. You're going to make that money back. Right? That's a quote from Hung, one of my really good buddies who's been through the mud as well. But like, my time, you're only going to be 24, 25, 26 once. You're only going to be 39 once. You're only going to be a 50-year-old female and her husband right now. And this is a story I've never told anybody, but Jay and I, we go to Colorado last summer, and it's the middle of the night. Don't have a kid. We go down to the hot tub because we just want to go to the hot tub. And it just so happens to be like this 50-year-old guy, and he's on his iPad and he's watching porn. Or no, it was like a paid subscription. So it was like watching some girl dance or whatever. And he's in there by himself, and his wife is in a lawn chair. And I don't know their situation, right? So there's no judgment there. But we walk up, but he closed it like quick. He closed that thing up real fast. And his wife was like, "Is everything okay, honey? How was the game?" And I was like, "Okay, He's not watching the Alabama game right now, sweetheart." But it's like, in a couple of years, when she reflects back on it, it's like, I wasted my time. I wasted my time with this guy who I thought he was just watching the Alabama college football game. But in reality, he was paying $400 an hour to watch Cynthia shake her thing.
Mm-hmm. So nobody asks for more money on their deathbed.
Yeah, exactly. It's time. So it's like respecting ourselves and our time. I've got this piece that says either lead her time with conviction or just get out of her way. And it goes vice versa. It goes for boys and it goes for girls. Like, don't waste my time with BS, fake impromptus or whatever, like games. Don't play games. Just call things for what it is so that we can make the best of our lives that we can. And in the grand scheme of things, and that's where I'm sitting at now, it's like I'm very blessed that I am at a table with guys like you and Cobes and Fred and Matt Damiani and Josh and Brandon and Jay. I'm in this relationship where it's like my time isn't getting wasted. It's getting the most value.
Yeah.
We're squeezing that lemon and every drop is coming out from my life. And it's awesome. And I love it. And the goal is like the best thing that happened for you, for Abs, and out there for anybody that's listening. I mean, you're spending your time listening to us. And this isn't like some BS conversation. This is real talk. These are conversations that we would have like at the shop together, right?
Yeah.
This is out of our personal time. At work, we make like $50 an hour, and we can get paid to do this while we do our job. But here it's like, this is offline. We're not getting paid for this. And that's been everything through Writing Raw, Stripped Raw. Everything that we've started 2 years ago is we need to talk about this more.
Yeah, everybody does.
No, I 100% agree.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I've seen it firsthand with so many people that come down to the shop, and, they could come down for a multitude of reasons, but if they get brought in and they're willing to open themselves up, they leave almost confused looking, not in a way where they don't know what happened, but it starts making you think about yourself, your life, how you're spending your time, how your relationship is, what your foundations look like, all these other, whatever topic we talk about. But, just having those conversations, being able to start those conversations. A lot of people don't know how to do it.
Yeah. Or carry them all the way through, you know, and then you got to think about it. Like if you were to say something emotionally, not that you were looking for it, but I mean, could you have 100% of your thoughts or your conversations with your dad? No offense to your dad.
Yeah,
you know? No, because he'd probably storm out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, personally, he just, and I've tried, not even about myself, but about him in a lot of ways, and he has his different tactics and stuff, but it's pretty much just push it away and move on.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a lot of, you know, males these days, and it's nothing against your dad. I've met your dad. He's a good dude. But as far as like men, is that the type of guy that if Dave was to die tomorrow, would I will the rights to my son to your dad? And it's like, the answer is no, because I don't want somebody like that. Like I want an emotionally competent son growing through his life. Right.
Yep.
And that's a lot of males today in this world is they don't have the emotional competency. They can't have that conversation, that hard conversation that you had with your fiance about where are we going to end up in 5 years. And for you to say like, we had to take the emotions and put them in another room and just be like completely transparent with each other. To me, it's like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Just transparent talk.
Yeah. And I mean, it feels good to say that we can do that. It feels better to do it. You know, I could tell the world we're able to have these conversations and rub it in and whatnot, but just being able to apply that to your life is next level.
Yeah, it is awesome. And especially for all the ladies out there listening, like, do these guys exist? Like, yeah, we're talking right now. And I do think it's embedded in all dudes out there. It's just they don't know that they have the voice or the understanding, and that's what all this is. This is what Strip Raw is. It's getting that. It's peeling it all open so we can have that conversation. Mm-hmm. This is the type of conversations that babies are made to, you know? Like after you put all the emotions inside that bedroom, it's like we had this talk and it's like, man, we just did that just like primal animals. And the next thing you know, it's like you're in there building babies. Mm-hmm. Nonetheless, Cam, this was awesome. I appreciate you opening up, brother.
Yeah, of course.
We're going to talk more.
Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah. We're going to talk a whole lot more. For everybody out there, we do appreciate you coming to Strip Raw. We appreciate you for the last 2 years supporting us. We appreciate you being there for this community that we're growing. We want to grow better men, better women, better kids. The ultimate goal of all of this is for a better world for our kids to live in. That's what all this is about. I don't want to be a millionaire in a huge house. I want a small house so I can be close and I can smell the kids playing in the next room. I want that's the goal of all of this. Just to make the world a better place. That's it. That's all we're trying to do. But we do appreciate your support. Do not leave off this channel until you like and subscribe down below. That's the YouTube model, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Like and subscribe.
Yeah. Smash that like button.
Smash it. Punch it. Punch it in the screen. Do what you need to do. Show the love. Spread the love. If you got somebody out there that's going through something and they don't think that anybody can understand them, right here. Yeah. We've all been through it.
Can't emphasize that enough. Got to share this stuff.
You have to share it. Share the love. Spread it. We appreciate everybody, and we look forward to seeing you guys again soon.